Hi there, I hope you're having a wonderful day today. Today I'm going to do something a little bit different, and I'm going to talk about the harp instrument. This is my favorite instrument of all time. It's so beautiful, it's so fun to play, and it brings me such peace and joy. It's amazing. And honestly, I get so many questions from people about the instrument, which I totally get. It's a cool instrument. So today I wanted to share a little bit about what I know, which isn't like a ton, but it's enough. So what I want out of this video, I want to talk about what this is, what are the different parts of this instrument, what are the different kinds of harp, and how it's played. Well, to get things started, I have been playing the harp now for about a year and a half. I was led by God to play it. He really put it in my heart to learn how to play this instrument. I never in my life thought I would be playing one of these. I didn't think I had the physical skill to do that. I have rheumatoid arthritis, so I have a physical disability in my hands and wrists. And so playing instruments is really hard for me. I do not have full function of my fingers. And so when he put it on my heart to play the harp, I just thought like, no way, there's no way that I can do that. But, I was wrong and he was right. And I'm telling you, when I sit down at this instrument and I play it, I have so much peace and joy. It's like, I can't even explain it. I played the violin for years. I never felt that way with the violin. To play the violin was more like a chore for me, but to play this, it's different. And when I play for him, knowing that he's watching me play, it's like the best feeling. I can't even describe it with words. There really are no words to describe it. So anyways, I wanted to make this video to talk about how wonderful this instrument is and share a little bit about it. So let me get started here. I have so much I want to cover. So first things first, this is called a Ravenna 34. It's from the maker Dusty Strings. And I did have to order this online because we really don't have a harp maker close to where I live. It would have been a very long drive for me, and I ended up finding a really good deal from a maker in Vermont that did a rent-to-own deal. So I was able to rent this harp. It was just an easier way for me to get the instrument faster. But really with this instrument, the main factor of it are all of the strings. So there are 34 strings on this instrument, and that kind of is one of the fun things about harps, is that they come in so many different shapes and sizes and string counts. So when it comes to the strings, you can really get any number from like 10 to 15 strings to 50 to 60 strings, lots of different options to choose from. So I got a 34 because that's a really good number. It's a good range, and I can play most songs with this range of notes. So that works out for me. The other thing I want to call out with the strings, and this is maybe a little bit hard to see on the camera, but there are different color of strings here. So there are these white strings that you can kind of see. They're white or silvery in color. And then there are these red strings that you can kind of see here. And then there are these dark blue strings. So how that works and why they have the colors is it helps the harpist see the notes better. You see all of these red strings are the note C. So you can kind of hear. They're all the notes C, different octaves. And then these blue strings are all of the note F. middle of the strings, these white and silver ones, are every other note. So in between the red and the blue strings, you have 2 white strings. That is D and E. And then in between the next set of blue and red, you have 3 white strings, and that is G, A, B. And that same pattern follows the whole instrument. So you have red string, 2 white, blue string, 3 white, red string, 2 white, blue string, 3 white. You know, the pattern is helpful when you're learning the instrument and you're trying to figure out where all the strings are. The other thing is this instrument is very much like a piano in the sense that you have your low notes at the very end, and then the high notes are on this side, on this top end here. And if you were to play the notes one after another, it's gonna follow the musical alphabet. In this case, it starts with the note C, and it just goes up from there. So C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, you know, the musical alphabet. And that's really, those are the strings. Now, all of the strings are attached to this sound box. A little bit hard to see with this current angle, so I'm gonna flip it down a little bit, but you can see this sound box here is this whole big section of the instrument that the strings are attached to. That is a really important part, of course. As you're plucking the strings, that string is vibrating with the soundboard and it's creating that sound. The larger this sound box is, the bigger the sound, the richer the sound. In this case, the Ravenna 34 is made to be a lighter instrument that you can more easily carry around. So the sound box isn't huge, but it's a good size. And yeah, so that's what that is. The other important aspect of this kind of harp are these black pieces that you can see above each of these strings. So these are called levers, and the levers are what allow me to play accidentals in music. So if you're not a musical person and you're not sure what I mean by the word accidentals, those are the flats and sharps that you will find in music. And so an example of that, if I look at this O Come Me manual, there is a little hashtag looking symbol up here by the treble clef. That indicates to me that for this song, all of the F notes are played as sharps. Now, each of these strings, they play a single note, a single natural note, which is the bass note, A through G. In order to play a sharp, I would have to raise the pitch of that note a half step. So for instance, when playing F sharp, I would have to flip this lever here. This is the F lever, and then this is F sharp. That's F, F sharp. So you can hear the difference. There's a slight difference of the tone when you use those levers, and that's what helps you play those accidentals. Now, these are technically called sharpening levers because they raise the pitch of the note a half step. Now, if I want to play flats, which is lowering the pitch a half step, I have to do a little bit of thinking in order to do that. So, for example, this is A. This is A sharp. But if I want to play A flat, I have to flip the G lever. And that note right there is both G sharp and A flat. So that's a little bit maybe complicated if you're not a musical person, but that's essentially what these levers are used for. They help you to play those accidentals. I really want to call that out because that's a key point in the different kinds of harp that are out there. So aside from these large stand-up harps, there are smaller versions of this, which again, one of the nice things about harps, you have lots of choices to choose from. So this is another kind of harp, and let me turn my camera a little bit so you can see this a little bit better. So this blue harp here was actually my first harp instrument. I built it myself. It's a lot smaller than my floor harp here, and it's a lap harp, so it's played against the body like this, and it's made for like ease of travel. They're usually less expensive to get these smaller harps, and for me, you know, this was a very good option when I was first starting out, because I didn't really want to spend thousands of dollars on a full-size harp when I was first starting out. So this was a really good option. And yeah, I built this myself. It's made out of wood and cardboard, actually, which sounds like it wouldn't be a good idea, but it actually works out pretty good. This is a pretty decent sounding harp considering the size and the material. It's not in tune right now. It's so out of tune, but that's the other kind of harp that you can get, are these smaller lap harps. There's still lever harps. This one doesn't have levers on it. I haven't installed those up here yet, but yeah, different options to choose from. Now, when it comes to tuning the instrument, every harp comes with a tuning key, and this is really important. So never ever lose your tuning key. I always have the worry that one of my dogs is going to get a hold of this and chew it up. It hasn't happened, but it might happen one day, and if that does, I'm going to be really sad. So in order to tune the harp instrument, I'm just going to bring us around here to the back side of the instrument, and you can see there are these little pegs that line the back of the instrument. There's a peg for every string, and really what you're doing is you're sticking your tuning wrench into the peg, and you're just turning it either clockwise or counterclockwise to either sharpen or flatten the note as needed. So that's how it gets tuned. In order to properly upkeep a harp, you really should be tuning it every week, multiple times a week. And so that's something that I have to do all the time. With that many strings, it doesn't take that long. It maybe takes me like a minute or two to tune all of the strings. It's not too crazy. I just use a tuning app for that. Another really important care aspect with this instrument, and really any wooden instrument, is the humidity level and keeping the proper humidity in the room. Again, this is a pretty expensive instrument, and it's pretty complex with the strings and how they're attached to the sound box. So you really want to keep this in good working order. I have a humidifier next to my harp that I keep going, and that will just keep the humidity in a good spot. If you have a wooden instrument, you know what I'm talking about. Especially in the winter, you have to watch your humidity levels. Aside from that, I have to clean the instrument all the time, so I have a specific harp cleaner that I use to clean the wood, and again, that's just helping to keep it in good working order. Really important to ensure that it has a long lifetime. Now, that is a lever harp, but there is another kind of harp out there, and this is probably the one that you're more familiar with, and that is the pedal harp. Pedal harps are that stereotypical, giant, usually very intricately carved wooden harps that they stand on the floor. They're usually taller than the harpist, and they have pedals on the ground at the base of the instrument. Those pedals allow that instrument to play the accidentals. There are 7 pedals on a pedal harp, and there is a pedal for each letter of the musical alphabet. So for example, there will be a C pedal, and that C pedal has 3 positions. It has natural, sharp, and flat. And so if I were to take that C pedal and move it into the sharp position, it would turn all C notes on the whole instrument to sharp. So every single string would be raised a half step that are C. If I were to move the A pedal into the flat position, it would take all of the A strings and move them down a half step into the flat position for that note. So pedal harps are like, they're the best kind of instrument to use if you are wanting to play the harp with classical or jazz music, if you are into that. Because then you can more easily play those accidentals, which is hard to do with this kind of harp where you have to flip the levers, because you're using both your hands, to play, and then you have to go and, flip the levers. It gets challenging. So as for the musical notation, when it comes to the harp music looks very similar to piano music. Because of the number of notes that this instrument can play, the number of strings, we play on the grand clef, just like the piano does. So for example, this is a piece of harp music, and you can see that there are treble clef lines and there are bass clef lines. So when you play the harp, you're playing both of these lines together. Your right hand plays treble clef, which is traditionally the melody, and then your left hand plays the bass clef, which is traditionally the harmony line. So that's one of the challenges with playing this instrument is playing both of your hands together, being able to read both the treble and the bass clef, and keeping the rhythm correct. That was one of the things I had struggled with when I first started, is playing hands together. I wasn't used to that. Playing the violin, you play like a single melody with that kind of instrument, with most instruments. But yeah, with the piano, with the harp, you have to think about both sides of it. Now, there are a few differences with harp music compared to piano music. So if you can see right here, there is a little line and it says gliss right there. That stands for glissando, which is that beautiful harp sound we all think about when we think of the harp. That's a glissando, and so that's a notation telling me that I need to play glissando there. And it even tells me what note range I should play. So in this case, it should be like C down to G. That would be what it would be looking for there. Other differences, if you can see, there are these brackets that are above these notes. Some harp music have these brackets, and the brackets and the numbers that are with those brackets indicate which fingers and what your finger placement should be when you're playing. So like the number 1 means that I should be using my thumb to play that note, or the number 2 means I should be using my pointer finger to play. And then another thing that's very common with harp music is something called rolled chords. And I'm just gonna pull up a piece of music that has that. This is different than other types of instruments. So there is right here, these little squiggly lines in between these notes. That indicates a rolled chord needs to be played there. And this is what a rolled chord would sound like. It's like usually 3 notes, sometimes 2, and they're just played in quick succession. They're not played all at once, but in quick succession. So that's the music. But other than that, those are really the basics to do with the harp. And so I thank you for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye.